Hey, welcome to another edition of Deep Thoughts in the Shallow End with Don. I'm Don Burton, and I work with Swim Ontario and the Ontario Swim Academy. And on the line here, I have Meena. Hi, Meena.
Hey Don.
So Meena Sharif. Meena Sharif is a person who works with the Ontario Swim Academy all the time on the deck and off the deck in the weight room. She helps out with all the different camps, all the provincial camps, and some of the tour teams, and with the para group as well as the able bodies. And she's been around for the last 2 years. So if she looks familiar, that's why. So Meena, today we're going to talk a little bit about some dryland do's and don'ts, and some maybe a lot of technical body position things. And there's a lot of different coaches out there from all the different clubs across the province and across the country that are trying to help their swimmers when they're at home. So giving them ideas or give them actual plans to do. So whether they're doing it totally on their own or whether they're doing it inside of some kind of video conferencing system, whether that's Zoom or some other different version. So, but for the most part, even with people organizing and creating the content, really the expectation and the importance of how things are done relies on each individual athlete. So that's what we're going to go through today. And some of the demonstrations are from some of the Ontario Swim Academy athletes. So they're doing like some different modifications of the exercises, but mostly it'll be here one way that you do it, but you probably should be doing it like this. So is that sort of where we're talking about today?
Yep, exactly. So yeah, we'll touch on kind of what is the focus of this phase, where we're at, and some tips and tricks in terms of programming and some things to look for in terms of technique. So yeah, like Don said, I'm strength and conditioning coach with the Ontario Swimming Academy. And so yeah, we'll go through where we're at in this season right now, and we're kind of in that transition into off season, and then we'll talk more into specifically strength and conditioning in terms of programming and things to look out for technique, and then just some best practices and some considerations given the virtual training or any coaches you're following, and some things to just keep in mind. So again, where we're at in the season, kind of 2019-2020 season, with no competitions in sight. It's kind of in this off-season phase. We don't really know when we'll be back in the water, but this is an opportunity to think of this as from performance into staying healthy. And we can take our training into improving aspects of our in-water performance and take that into the dry land now and improve on that easily. And so I think of this as an opportunity for athletes to take home, to do at their in-home training. And again, just kind of maintaining general health, staying healthy, have fun, and again, see this as opportunity to work on some things outside of the water. In terms of strength programming, so the strength side of things, kind of recommending 2 to 3 times per week, and then focusing on these fundamental movement patterns. So you can see there are 6 right there. So that's your squat, hinge, push, pull, lunge, and core exercises. So I'll show on the next couple slides what that means. And so just categorizing your movements into those 6 categories will come a long way and help you with programming as well. And again, use what you got, use what you have, and be creative with it. And I'll give some examples and later on. So again, the big thing that we can really work on is technique and quality over quantity. And instead of high repetitions and moving as fast as we can we actually slow down the movement, pay attention to what our body is doing? Can we be aware of how our body is moving, like Don mentioned, and can we actually improve those techniques that we see in water on dry land? And then you'll see that later on in this presentation and in our talk. And another thing that I want to emphasize a lot is core versus abs that I always hear athletes talking about. And so I think the differentiation is between, I think, abs when people think of six pack or those washboard abs versus core. So when we think of core, we want to think our whole torso, front and backs, all the way around, those deep core muscles that help us stay afloat in the water. So if we change our perspective on that and thinking core versus abs, it can come a long way in how we structure our workouts and what exercises we choose from. And then also another thing we can also focus on in this time period is our prehab rehab work. So if you have a physiotherapist or if you've seen a doctor for any injuries that you've been dealing with or some things that you want to make sure that you don't get injured, some common injury sites obviously in our shoulders, overuse. So some things we can work on, and if maybe you can get in touch with a healthcare professional virtually and you can identify any exercises that you can do at home. So any shoulder strengthening, mobility work, core, low back strengthening, anything of that nature, this is an opportunity that you can improve that during this time. So these are the 6 fundamental movement patterns that I want to go over. So our first one is our squat pattern. So you can see just a body weight squat there. And then if you have a dumbbell or some type of equipment that you can use, you can also add that in. So I've also written in why or how this squat position is important or how it's important in our sport. So you can see push off the walls. We need that strong leg power in order to drive off the wall every time, get further closer to that 15-meter mark and get as many kicks in as we can, and also a block start. So if we can push off the block fast, powerfully, we can have a quick time to 15-meter mark and that can really help with our performance in the long run. So in the push-up, in the push movement pattern, just an example is our push-up. So again, helps with our stroke efficiency and ability, helps with 2-hand touches if you're in butterfly or breaststroke. Our third one is the pull. So again, upper body strength, again, helps with our stroke power, efficiency, also improves our posture. So again, swimmers were very front dominant. So we do get a lot of tightness in the front, is common. But one thing we can do is improve our upper back strength. So that's one way we can do that through pull exercises. So that exercise right now is the double arm band row that I've set up there. And then our hinge, so coming down to the bottom, so an RDL or Romanian deadlift or just a deadlift position. So helping with our kicking ability, improve our backside, our hamstring strength as well. And then our lunge, so kicking ability, so can we improve single leg strength and as well as block starts as well. And then finally we have core. So this is where you'll see later on too why this is really important. So again, floating, can we stay afloat? Our turns off the wall, streamline position, can we create less drag when we're swimming? And then also anti-rotational. So when we're kicking and pulling as fast as we can we actually maintain our body position while our arms and legs are doing crazy stuff? Can we actually stay afloat in that streamlined position and create less drag? So if we could break it down into these 6 movement patterns, then it'll be super easy for anybody to do some simple at-home training. And like I put the recommendations there, 2 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 repetitions, or 30 seconds of each exercise of just good quality movement there. Again, this handout is available on the Swim Ontario website from our last video that we had too. So we'll go into a little bit of a game with you guys, see if you can spot the difference. So it's just a shout out to the Ontario Swimming Academy athletes that I work with. I've asked them to send in some videos of them performing these exercises. So see if you can spot the difference with these. So first we have the high plank with an arm raise. We got Hannah here, Hannah Cornish. So you can really tell the difference between these 2 exercises, where one is core, back is flat, stable, hips are not moving. And that first top left-hand video, we can see hips are moving, And that, if we were to translate that over to the pool, that would create a lot of drag, right? So it's the same idea. If our arms are going for that stroke, can we maintain that streamlined position the whole time? And then I'll show you again the proper way. So again, hips are square, arms are just moving, nothing else is moving in our body. So again, we're stabilizing our core in order to reach that position. So she does a really good job with maintaining a flat back, hips square. Yeah. So again, with this exercise, I really like this one because it's very similar to what we do in the water. So when our arms are pulling, can we maintain a flat back? Can we maintain our core stabilized there during when our arms are moving overhead? So again, this is Gigi with our squat jump to streamline. So can we actually get our hands into streamline? On the left, you can see she's not really getting into streamline position. And she is jumping forward instead of up, straight up. And if we were to translate this over the wall into the water off our turns, for example, we'd be creating a lot of drag. We'd be going all over the place. We would push down or push deeper into the pool instead of a straight line. And if we see her do it correctly, we see straight up and down, arms into streamline, head is between our biceps. I'll play that again. A really good job with that. And again, it carries over to the pool. She's creating less drag off the turns and as well as a block start too.
So Meena, talking about this specifically in the pool, the problem is inside a race on a 100-meter race, the last 25, or on a 200-meter race, the last 50. This for lots of different reasons. Obviously, fatigue is a big part of it, but part of it is really due to technique. And so the two exercises you've already covered and the ones that you're about to cover, each athlete needs to really be able to see that they can hold the technique without any resistance and without going as fast and as hard as they can. So right now is the true to get down to the fundamentals, to focus on doing these things right. And as long as they have either somebody watching them or all they have to do is use their own phone, put it on record, and they can watch to see how their technique is for any of these moves. Really critical. And the neat thing is it's so simple. It's no simple, no different than watching Gigi doing these jumps. Yeah. So I just want everybody to be able to really focus on the fact that this is about swimming. That's all. Keep going.
Yep. And like Carolyn, our biomechanist, always says, like, if you can't do it on dry land, there's no way you're going to be able to do it in the water. So again, like Don said, quality over quantity, focusing on each rep. Can you actually perfect the cues and the components of that movement with each rep, even with fatigue? In your fourth set, does it look the same as your first set? So I think that's really important, and it's an opportunity to work on on those things instead of just trying to rush as fast as you can and just forget about everything that you're supposed to maintain throughout that movement. And again, like Don said, it's being able to look as well as you started, even when you are fatigued. So that's one thing that I think we can make a big difference in your performance is the dry land work and how much you pay attention to your quality, and just that simple as having your parents, a sibling, or just setting up a camera and watching yourself do it. So the next one is the push-up. Again, I see a few mistakes, technique errors with this. So one thing to keep in mind. So you can see Cole Mitchell here. In the first video, top left, you can see how his hips are touching the floor first instead of a proper flat back up and down at the same time. We kind of see a worm push-up. Again, we're not really working our core at the same time. Sure, we're working our push position, but we're not getting that full proper technique. And then the bottom right here, you can see full body up and down at the same time, head to heel, moving up at the same time. So again, being able to keep that body position, super important when you're in the water. And then at the same time, we're working our upper body strength. I'll play that one more time. There's a good job. And one thing I also want to point out is hand position. So general rule, is hands just outside of shoulder width. So shoulders are here, just slightly outside. And then I'll play this one more time. And you can see Cole does a really good job. When he comes down, his elbows are about 45 degrees away from his body. So he's not out here, or he's not tucked in close, working that proper range of motion all the way down and all the way up. So really good job with that, and something to keep in mind with your own training at home. So next up is the Deadbug. I really like the Deadbug just because it translates super well to what we do in the water. So again, Hannah doing the Deadbug, top left-hand corner. We can see our head position. So I just want to focus in on that. And then our bottom right here, you can see chin tucked in, right? And this is super important when we're in the water, where I see a lot of coaches tell their athletes, hey, look at your head position. What is your head doing? Are you looking up, or are you looking straight down at the water, or looking down at the bottom of the pool? So one thing that we can definitely work on in this movement, or any plank position, to be honest, is our head position. So are we looking straight up, or actually is our head in line with the rest of our body? So again, you can see Hannah chin tucked in, core is engaged, going opposite hand, opposite leg, control down. Again, we're working that core and not just our abs. Okay. So again, with the broad jump, really good lower body exercise. So again, Gigi doing a good job improperly performing the movement. So we can see landing wise, we're not doing a good job landing in that athletic position if we were to push off the wall. But you can see here how she lands, takes off the same way that she took off, lands the same position. Okay, so really good job with that. Something to keep in mind, hands are moving with our hips. Okay, so hands follow our hips and driving forward. Okay, so just things to keep in mind. Again, like Don said, if we can't do it properly on dry land, there's no way we're going to do it in the water. So again, film yourself, have family members check it out at the same time too. Again, going back into a high plank position, I love any plank variation that you have to lift your arm or leg at the same time. Okay, you can see in the top left-hand corner, hips are piking up. Okay, again, we might see this in the water as well. Head is looking down. And then if we see in the bottom right-hand corner here, see, nice flat back, wrists stacked under our shoulders, head position, chin tucked in. Only thing that's moving is our legs here. So really good job, good control, core control. Show that one more time. So again, our kicking ability in the water, can we actually maintain our core when our legs are kicking as fast or as slow as we are in the water there? Really good job. So this is not a bad or good version. This is both good. So just want to make that point. But then some things that we can also work on are band pull. So you can either do this freestyle or butterfly pull. So again, from the side, we're in that hip hinge position. So bum back, flat back. And we can see our fingers catching in the water or in the air here. And then from the front, you can see high elbow position as she pulls, catches, and pulls through. So again, just setting up a camera like Gigi has here, and you can easily see any deficiencies or corrections that can be made that you typically would do in the water, and you can easily correct them here on land. So again, you can do this freestyle, single arm pulls, alternating, or you can do butterfly too here. Yep.
So Meena, this is great because parents don't need to go out and buy a $2,000 Vasta trainer. They can get surgical tubing sent to them from any medical store, or they can get these specific stretch cords from, if you're in Canada, one of the normal swimming equipment retailers like Team Aquatic Supplies or something like that. It's relatively inexpensive. You can get different strengths of the cords. And if anybody has any questions about which strengths they should be ordering, if they need to order one, they can just email me and I can have them talk to their home coach, or they really should just talk to their home coach first. But obviously the other strokes can be done, but this is an explanation flying free.
And then one thing that you can also, some variations to this movement that can be made. So either Gigi's doing a bit of a power pull here. You can tell she's accelerating past her body. You can also just do, like if you were doing in the water. So technique, slow, arm recovery, enter the water, and then pulling through slowly, focusing on that high elbow catch position. So you can also vary this movement and just slow it down, bring your arm up, focus on that. And then you gradually can pick up the speed, or you can also vary your sets and do power work versus technique work as well in here. And then finally, just going through some mobility work. This is a good video, so I just wanted to put this in here. And just like I said, with the rehab work, we can work on the range of motion of our joints and our muscles during this time period. So again, Z here, doing a really good job with these T-spine openers. I'll go back in a sec, but you can see she's rotating her head along with her elbow. So head is rotating like if we were to take a breath in the water too. Again, only her upper back is moving, and it's the same position that we would see when we're taking a breath in freestyle. Good, rotating that back, head follows our elbow. All the way up and all the way down. I'll play that from the side because you can see it better. And again, we're opening up that back, opening up that chest, especially at a time where maybe sitting at our phone or our laptop a little bit longer during this time, and just help with opening that whole area up. Thanks, Steve.
Meena, just one little point. The coaches that are, or the parents that are watching, from a breath control perspective, we're not suggesting that this would be the exact range of motion we're doing, although this is part of it. So this is specifically looking after what Meena is talking about, which is the range of motion in the upper back. But we're not saying that this is the technique that we want anybody to do on the breath of freestyle, but it's similar. That's all. I didn't want anybody doing some point of order thing. Anyway.
Yeah. So just going through some progressions. So how could you make this easier, or how could you make this harder for yourself? And I'll show an example on a progression on the next slide. And again, you can vary the movement. And I'll give you an example for the push-up, and tempos is another thing. So if you find that you can easily do 12 reps of push-ups, maybe slowing it down. So going slow on the way down, pause, add in some pauses, and then slow on the way up. Can you actually control it even at a slower tempo? And I can assure you doing four reps at a slower pace is just going to feel just as challenging, and you'll get a lot out of it by just using your own body weight and not even adding any equipment to it. Again, equipment is nice to have. If you don't have it, you don't have to freak out and go buy from Fitness Depot. You can easily use your backpack using paint buckets that I've seen, water jugs. Easily you can load up any movement. And again, it's about being creative. Again, you don't have to go and spend too much money on this stuff. Bands, I'm sure pretty much every athlete has. And the other stuff is just kind of luxury stuff. So again, be creative with what you got. You can use a backpack. You can load it up with textbooks, rocks or stones or anything, and throw them in your bag, and you can easily load up, make a movement that much harder using paint buckets, water jug, holding on in the squat position. Again, you can be creative with this and see and just make that movement a little bit more challenging for yourself. If a set of, for example, 8 or 12 is easy, you can easily just add some household items into it. So this is an example of a push-up progression. So again, if we can't do a push-up from the floor, that's okay. If we can, again, we can apply some tempos to it. So we can apply some tempos to it. And then next up is the incline push-up. So you can see here I'm performing it on a barbell. Again, you don't need a barbell. You can easily do this on your kitchen countertop, on your couch, on a table, anything like that. Again, if it is challenging to do them from the floor, you can easily do it from an incline position. Again, bands, if you have bands available to you, you can make the movement a little bit easier. Okay. And then the last progression leading up to that push-up is kind of shortening the range of motion a bit. So if you can easily use a pool boy, you can use a stack of textbooks. Again, shorter range of motion. You can still get the benefit out of the push-up. But again, we don't have to go all the way down to the floor. Or you can even take away your textbook or a pool boy, for example, and then increase that range of motion till you're able to get down to the floor. So again, this is just an example of using the push-up. And it's pretty challenging, to be honest. So I just want to go into a bit of conditioning work. So either I recommend doing 2 to 3 times per week. And some set that I like to give to athletes is going out for either a run, go for a bike, a hike. If you have a row machine, I know some athletes do, that's great. You can also use that. So going like 30, 45, 60 minutes, just at an easy, low intensity pace. Again, you can focus on your quality of the movement. We'll focus on the technique of how you're planting your foot into the ground, or how you're biking, how you're pedaling. And then something that I like to add in and carries over well into what we do is adding some short bursts of sprints. So 10 to 30 seconds every 1 to 3 minutes or so. Just speed up your intensity a little bit and then return back to a low intensity pace. So then again, this is just one example of a set that I like to use. And again, ensure that you're using incorporating a proper warm-up that's dynamic. You're getting your heart rate up. An activation piece. I know most athletes are starting to get more into the pre-pool activation. Again, the same idea. Whatever you would do before the pool, or before a race, before a practice, you would have a warm-up in there. So 10 to 15 minutes, get your heart rate up, make sure it's active, it's getting your blood going, muscles warm as well. And one thing I want to add, again, with the public health agency guidelines out there, if you are going outside, make sure you are physically distancing yourself from others. I just want to put that out there as a reminder. And then just want to get into some best practices and considerations. So making sure you have a safe environment around you. So making sure there's no furniture nearby or tripping hazards, proper ventilation in the room. Make sure your overhead clearances, you have enough in case you're doing any jumping exercises so you don't hit your head. Proper appropriate clothing and shoes, just like if you were in a gym facility. So make sure you have shoes on, make sure you have the proper clothing on that allows you to move freely throughout these movements. One thing that if you are seeing a coach, or you're having your coach with you, or seeing a third-party trainer or anything, like, make sure they're certified, make sure they're registered as well. And in my handout, you'll see here that I've put in some examples of proper training certifications. And then the final thing is virtual training. So I know with the OSA group as well, and this is becoming really big amongst clubs, is using Zoom or Skype or FaceTime with athletes. So make sure that you have proper permission from a parent or a guardian, and then make sure you have the appropriate privacy settings with audio and video. Again, Swim Ontario has released this, so you can also check it on the website, some protocol guidelines as well. Again, this can be found easily, and I can link it into the handout as well. And then just to finish off, so like Dr. Judy Goss says, focus on what you can control. So what can you control in this time right now, in this moment? And what can you do now instead of worrying, oh, what's going to happen in this much time? What can you do day to day? It doesn't have to be swimming related or training related. It can be anything. Like, I know a lot of athletes now have school. Again, the second point is going back to the basics. So those fundamental movement patterns, this is a good opportunity to work on that, and with control, with quality, and really take this to the next level within your swimming. And then staying healthy. So again, mentally, physically, being able to keep your immune system strong with moderate exercise, proper food, proper nutrition. And then again, seeing this as an opportunity to work on things that maybe you haven't been able to during the season, in a busy season, and a busy time. And finally, the most important thing is have fun with it. So be creative, get your teammates involved, have challenges, use video calls, or if that's appropriate, and have fun with it. So call up a friend and say, hey, can we FaceTime? Let's do this workout together. Let's push each other a little bit, and post that to Instagram or whatever that is. Get social media involved if that's appropriate too. Again, have fun with it, be creative. Again, take this time and take this opportunity to focus on training, swimming and non-swimming aspects of your life too. So that's one thing that I really want to emphasize too. Is just have fun with it. If you guys have any questions, you could let me know. Here's my email. But again, always open to questions, comments, feedback. So let me know and how it's going for you and how I can help as well.
Thanks, Meena. One of the things that you just talked on there was to have fun with it and to interact with some of your teammates or your friends. There's a bunch of different clubs out there that have done some distance challenges with their teams, and they're allowed to use their parents and family members as well. So walking or jogging or biking or rollerblading or whatever. And some people are trying to cross the country or to get to Tokyo. And so I think those are some great little things that some people have been doing for distance based stuff. So I think that works in really, really well with all the stuff you're talking about. Everything that you just talked about today, I know for certain that this is what you believe. And I believe that most coaches, if not all the coaches, do as well. Do it right. Learn how to do it right under somewhat different circumstances. More reps or slower reps or faster, whatever we're talking about. Range of motion. That's the most important thing. It's not just flying through whatever your plan is and to get it done inside of 10 minutes when it should take 20 or whatever we're talking about. And I think if people really do see this as an opportunity to make themselves better, every single person can find a way to streamline a little bit better or to push off the wall better or with more force and hold on to that streamline. And if they focus on the things that you talked about today, help them on the transition back into the pool and put them in a better spot than they were when they were before. A really interesting thing that I think most swimmers haven't been focusing on is in order to create a new habit, you have to do something different for 30 days in a row. And some experts say it's 30 to 45 or whatever it is. But like we've now been out of the water for a while. So now is the perfect time to create the best habit of every single exercise that we're doing before they get back in the pool and try to do it with having some fun. So thanks so much for doing this with everybody. And I hope that you get some people asking you some interesting questions and that we will all get to see them soon. And you and I will do another video sometime in the near future. We'll talk to everybody again soon. So thank you so much, Meena.
No problem. Thanks, Don.